Welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. My special guest today is Dr. Cornel West. Dr. West, welcome back. It's been a minute.
Well, it's just a blessing to see you, and God bless your precious loved ones, though. And we all got to keep swinging and ducking, as my blood brother Clifton would say. When you swing, you got to duck because you're dealing with gangsters and thugs and thieves and what have you. But you can't be discouraged. That's the crucial thing. We got to be more fortified now than ever.
I hear you. I hear you. So, Dr. West, we are now done with the 2024 presidential election. And I want to hear from you just some of the things that you saw on the campaign trail outside of the duopoly. Like this was your moment outside of the Democratic Party. And I know you helped and worked with Bernie Sanders during his presidential campaign. What was it like for you being on the outside of those two forces? And what did you see this time around? Anything that gave you pause or anything that you found surprising? I'm curious.
Well, remember I was with Brother Ralph though in 2000, so I've been outside a number of times, even with the Green Party back 2012, given our own struggles this time. But no, when you see so clearly that the two-party system is more corrupt than you thought, that it's more manipulative than you thought. They spent over $20-some million to keep us off the ballot, and they were making us as if we were the cause of fascism, the cause of Trump. It was our campaign that was going to be primarily responsible, or any other third-party campaign. We know it was just lies, lies, lies. That there's no integrity there. There's no serious commitment to poor people or working people there. It's colonized by big money. It's corporate driven. There's no doubt about that. And so it's much more of a raw experience when they coming at you so directly with the attacks and the assaults and the lies and the big money. I mean, we raised $1 million for 17 months, my dear sister. That's what you call going a long way on little. And we finished, and we were glad and proud to finish. And as you know, we got 16 states. Kiana's great leadership as campaign manager. Anahita, my beloved wife, her unbelievable work. But we had some wonderful people there. Alex and Edwin and Stanley and Bashir and so forth. But we kept swinging because we were committed to telling the truth and seeking justice. And we still have the Justice for All party that Brother Israel is working on now. So in that sense, we went into the dark pit, and we emerged with a light, more determination, more vision, more conviction. And we're going to be faithful unto death. We're going to live it, and we're going to die it.
So I know how difficult it can be for third-party candidates or independent candidates. Very well aware of that. And I guess one of the questions that I do have for you, I know you got ballot access in like 16 states. Is there any regret with that decision to leave the Green Party because of the ballot access? I think a lot of us, when you announced that you were running, we were really excited about the possibility of what a Cornel West presidency would look like, or just really excited about your campaign. And when you left the Green Party, I saw some of that momentum disappear, not because you weren't running as a Green, but because a lot of us know just how difficult it can be for an independent candidate to try to get on that ballot, unless you're like RFK Jr. and you have a lot of money. Like he had super PACs and all that stuff.
No, he had millions and millions and millions of dollars. You're right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So he, and even he at the end of it said, I can't, I'm not going to be able to continue to do this, and decided to join along with Donald Trump's campaign. But is there any regret there? Do you ever question that decision to leave the Green Party and run as an independent because of the ballot access situation?
Well, it raises the deeper issue for me, my dear sister, of what is the relationship between the strategic? Because when you choose a party primarily because they have ballot access, that's strategic thinking. And strategy plays a very important role in any political movement, social movement, or in any campaign. But you also have to have integrity. You got to be true to yourself, you see. And it was clear I couldn't be true to myself in the Green Party. That it's not big enough, and it's not prepared for a free black man who makes the struggle against white supremacy central to the struggle against capitalism and imperialism. Green Party got some wonderful people in it, wonderful individuals and so forth, but it just doesn't come out of the black freedom struggle tradition. That's just not what it is. You know, they're anti-racist, but it's different being grounded. And I'd rather be grounded in that tradition and be free enough to talk from my heart and soul. The same is true even in terms of my revolutionary Christianity, you know, that they're deeply secular. You see, you start talking about Jesus too much and they kind of look at you funny. I said, well, now I'm sorry, but I'm a Jesus-loving free black man who's going to go down talking about freedom and justice for black folk and everybody. And I'd rather be free and independent and speak my mind than choose a party because they have more ballot access. Now, it would have been nice if we would have created a situation in which I could have the ballot access and still be true to myself. But you know, and I know, I mean, you know, we come out of blues people, we're jazz people, right? And we got to be true to ourselves in this regard. And then we had tensions and so forth that I had no patience for. We won't go into right now. It's not even worth it. Maybe down the line that those truths will come out. But I mean, but those kind of tensions as well just let me know that I couldn't be free enough to run. There's no way I could have sustained myself for 17 months with the fire that I needed to have if I'm in a party that can't fully embrace who I fundamentally am and where I come from and all that mama and daddy and Shiloh Baptist Church and the Black Panther Party put inside of me. And so I have nothing against people who make their choices, you know what I mean? Because strategy makes a very important difference. You know, you got to choose between somebody with 16 and they got 40. And they say, well, Brother West, we love you, but we want a party that got 40 states access. I can understand that. But as somebody who's running a campaign, I can't just make strategic moves and not be myself. Because you can imagine that's like going all the way down the road. And we had all these folks saying, talking strategy to me about Kamala Harris, war criminal that she is. Well, Brother West, we love you to death, but we got strategic concerns and we know you can't win. And therefore we think she can win and we want to be on her bandwagon because we can get the benefits. So it's nice to have you out there running your mouth and being prophetic with a voice in the wilderness, but the wilderness is not crying for you. And therefore we going with the mainstream. Hey, you're going for genocide. You're going for corporate domination. You're going for neoliberal policy. What's going on here? But see, that's one of the dangers of sliding down the strategic mountain. You see, when it's fundamentally strategy as opposed to strategy plus integrity, strategy plus vision. And let us not forget, my dear sister, 64 years ago, our dear brother Patrice Lumumba was murdered. The CIA facilitated it. Eisenhower spoke to Allen Dulles and said, we got to assassinate him. And Dulles had already pulled off the coup in Iran in 53 and the coup in Guatemala in 54. Dulles had led the Bay of Pigs against Cuba in 61. And so that history of the empire and the history of resistance to that empire outside and inside, that's the kind of thing we have to be true to. And that allows us to think critically about our strategies as well as our sense of integrity. And as you know, I have nothing against people who didn't necessarily vote for me. I mean, as a Christian, I'm gonna love everybody anyway. It don't make no sense in the eyes of the world, but that's all right with me. But I'm gonna be hating oppression, domination, subjugation. I'm gonna be hating exploitation. I'm gonna be hating gangster activity and thuggish orientations. And that's what we see with Trump. That's what we see with Republican Party. So we got to get ready for this neo-fascism. It's coming quick, it's coming fast, and it's going to be in many ways a test of who we are, a test of our character, a test of our hearts and souls. And most importantly, it's going to be a test to what we really true to.
Well, Dr. West, when you say that you feel like you couldn't be yourself, what exactly does that mean? And I'm not trying to pick here. It's just that I'm asking because there were a number of things that I did say to Green Party members, whether it was on this show or privately, that I feel like there are areas that should be worked on, right? And one of the things that I did say is I do think the Green Party should do a better job of making inroads into Black communities, not just like Black academics, et cetera. No offense to you, but I'm
No,
just
no, that's
saying,
true.
like, to make inroads
That's true.
into Black communities, just like the Democratic Party did, right? So the Democratic Party has been doing this for a long time. But when you say you couldn't be true to yourself, what exactly what does that mean?
Well, it just means putting the Black freedom struggle at the center of what you do, and you proceed from there to other struggles. So we know the intimate relation between struggling against genocide in Gaza. Now we got the ceasefire, but still see the occupation in place, the siege is in place, the boycott's still going to be in place, and so many different, the sanctions still in place, and what have you. But you have to be true to from whence you come. And the Green Party has never, ever been grounded in the Black freedom struggle. They've been anti-racist, but they primarily come from professional managerial classes of vanilla brothers and sisters concerned about ecological issues and concerned about critiques of empire. And that's why we overlap with them in significant ways. But they just don't come, they don't come out of the Black freedom struggle. You know what I mean? And that's who I am. Don't make me better, don't make me worse. But I got to be true to myself. I just got to be true to myself. And Al Green and Eddie Kendricks gonna sound very different than Pat Boone with a left wing sensibility. You know what I mean? It's just different. That's all.
But I think that when I looked at like Jill Stein's platform, for example, she had an entire section for a Black agenda, and even mentioned Cancer Alley, et cetera. She had a lot of things listed there.
Beautiful. Oh,
for the Black
absolutely.
community.
Oh, no, very much so. I mean, they are a important leftist party. That's why I've supported them, a number of times in the past. But it's different to have words on paper and in a platform as opposed to where you come from and the people who constitute your organization and the ways in which your rootage and anchorage, you see, and the rootage and anchorage, no matter how many outreach they have for Black folk, it's just not in the Black freedom struggle. It just doesn't come out of Martin and Malcolm and Fannie Lou and Ella Baker. Every speech I give, I'm always talking about those names. Why? Because those not just names to me. They rest inside my heart, mind, and soul. They keep my fire going. That's true for Irene and Clifton, my mom and dad too. So in that sense, you got to be true in that way. It's a visceral thing. It's not just ideological. It's not just political. It's spiritual. It's visceral, and it is tied. That's why they're still my comrades. We're gonna be going to jail together. We're in the same demonstrations together. They got it right. You know what I mean? But I got to be true to who I am. And I tried to pull it off, and I know I couldn't. And I'm very glad that I broke, because I was much freer. And people thought we'd get 4 or 5 states. That's what all the mainstream press was saying. But I mean, mainstream press is full of so much mendacity. Look at the situation right now in the ceasefire. Now they got to announce a ceasefire of a genocide they haven't even acknowledged, of a war they haven't even covered, of over 165 reporters, and the reporters are going to act like they committed to being a reporter in journalism. Lies, lies, lies. And the professors and the presidents of universities going to talk about there's a ceasefire and we're committed to universities, and they demolished all 13 universities. And these university professors and presidents, for the most part, couldn't say one mumbling word in solidarity with those who were crushed working in those universities. Same is true in the hospitals. Same is true in the churches and the mosques. Same is true with the press. And you say to yourself, this level of hypocrisy and barbarity and mendacity all tied together. The lies, the crimes, and the barbaric effects of genocide, 20,000 children dead. Is this how sick the American empire is? Absolutely. Is this how corrupt the system is? Absolutely. And all of our voices, where we come from, some of us come out of the Black freedom struggle, some of us come out of the ecological movement, some of us come out of the trade union movement, some of us come out of the feminist movement, some of us come out of the anti-homophobic movement, anti-transphobic movement, our precious gays and lesbians and trans folk. Everybody got their rootage. It doesn't make us better ones in one tradition or another, but we got to be true to that. I mean, that's the thing. And of course, there's all of the overlap, black trans or black womanists and so forth and so on. But in the end, it's just a question of how deeply committed we are to the truth and justice for everybody, and a love that embraces, especially the biblical text, the least of these, the wretched of the earth. That's why Lumumba's Day to Day is so very important, June 17th, because, that was one of those moments in which the American empire's barbarity was revealed, ripped off. Gaza, 60 years later, U.S. barbarity ripped off again. We committed to human rights. We committed to international law. Quit lying. Biden, you're a war criminal. Harris, you're a war criminal. Austin, you're a war criminal. Thomas Greenfield, war criminal. Sullivan, we can go right down the line. Blinken. They say, oh, well, isn't that so harsh? No, we're just telling the truth. And that's what the history books that are concerned about truth will say. Just like in the 1850s, who stood up against slavery? Little small slice. And you notice when the history books talk about abolitionists, they talk primarily about vanilla brothers and sisters, as if the enslaved Africans themselves are not abolitionists. No, the main abolitionist movement was there on the plantations. That's why Harriet Tubman is my ancestor at that deep level, right? Because she going back in because she loved those black folk. With her epilepsy, with her Bible, courage, consistency, witness. And she said, I am going to bear witness and I'm going to die loving these folks. See, that's John Coltrane's Love Supreme night. That's a deep love, Sister Sabby. You know what I'm talking about.
I do. I'm a big fan of John Coltrane. But you mentioned the ceasefire. This is another thing that I wanted to bring up. I want to get your opinion about how Donald Trump, who's not even in the White House yet, was able to reach out to Netanyahu and Netanyahu's cabinet saying they're being forced to do this. How do you feel about that? Because I noticed some people who were still willing to give Biden and Harris a chance during, or at least Harris a chance during her presidential election, and said, well, maybe she'll do the right thing. I'll just give her a chance anyway. Now, some of those people have been very vocal on social media, and they're saying that they're just showing us, Donald Trump just showed us that this could have been done over a year ago. And for him to just come in, and I don't know what he said to Benjamin Netanyahu. We may never know, but apparently it was something enough to move the needle, whereas Joe Biden is sitting in front of Lawrence O'Donnell in a recent interview saying that he had spoke to Benjamin Netanyahu last year and told him you can't be carpet bombing people. And Benjamin Netanyahu's response to him was, well, you did it, meaning the West. And he was referring to World War II. And so right. Biden said, I tried to push him. And then, so we gave them the weapons. So it was very obvious to me, which I've been trying to tell people, Joe Biden supported this from day one. He supported what Israel was doing in Gaza. And now he's trying to save face. It's really pathetic. But how do you feel about the fact that Trump just walks in and tells them that they have to do this? And they're like, we're being forced to do it.
Oh, man, for me, it's very clear. It's a gangster to gangster situation. See, Biden is a true believer Zionist, and so he's going to allow Netanyahu to commit his genocidal acts, his war crimes, until the cows come home. Whereas Trump's transactional all the way down. He ain't got no serious belief. He ain't got no ideology or nothing. And he sent David Sitkoff there, and Sitkoff is what? He's a billionaire real estate man. He ain't no expert in diplomacy. And he just set Netanyahu down and said, Mother, this is what you gonna do. This is exactly what you gonna do. How come? Because my gangster Trump leader has told me this. And I don't want to hear nothing else from you. And Netanyahu said, I'm just so used to manipulating Biden and making Biden look like a fool because Biden allowed him to do anything. Lied for him, billions of dollars, military equipment. It's not just Biden, it's the Democratic Party. It's the Black Congressional Caucus. It's the New York Times, it's the Washington Post, it's CNN, it's MSNBC, it's the whole neoliberal professional managerial elite that allowed them to get away with that. And Biden, of course, was in many ways the head of it. But now, of course, Trump, for the most part, he don't give a damn about Palestinians either, just like Biden. But he's a gangster up front, and when you have gangsters up front, you have a different kind of dynamic than people want to act like they virtuous when they involved in gangster activity, and gonna tell you gangster activity is moral, legal, and that's the insult to our minds, hearts, and souls. They're gonna tell us, don't believe your lying eyes. You're not seeing any violation of human rights. You're not seeing any violation of international law. And we saw it for 15 months. I mean, many of us, including yourself, we called for the ceasefire 466 days ago. And we were called what? Anti-Semitic, anti-Israel. 7 months ago, the exact same deal was on the table, and Netanyahu would not follow through with it. The exact same words. So you got another 10,000 children, people gone, another 6,000 children dead. They killed 116 yesterday. That's how sick and pathetic and pathological this genocide is. And so much of the mainstream in America just act like it's just another day. We're concerned about the LA fires, rightly so. LA winds, rightly so. The LA oligarchs that help facilitate control of the waters. Yeah, we got to be concerned about our brothers and sisters in LA, no matter what color they are. Gaza looks worse than Los Angeles, and that's all human made. That's all U.S. bombs, U.S. money, Israeli gangster attacks and genocidal attacks and so forth. We just got to tell the truth. And we have to be willing to bear whatever cost that goes with that. But in telling that truth, we are holding up the torch of the Harriet Tubmans and the Martin Luther King Jr.'s. I think it's providential that Gangster Trump is being inaugurated on Martin Luther King Jr.'s day. So Martin gonna cast a shadow over him. He ain't gonna be center stage. This is Martin's day. This is his day. We're gonna juxtapose the best of the American empire with the worst of the American empire. We're gonna juxtapose what love and justice looked like. And Martin's no god, a deity, but he was a serious brother. We're gonna see what the love and justice in his life looks like, as opposed to the contempt and the transactional gangster activity of Trump. We're going to look at what democracy in its most radical form looks like with Martin versus the oligarchs sitting there with Trump smiling after they'd given him millions and millions of dollars just for the inauguration. That's the level of the spiritual decay and moral decadence of the American empire that we're dealing with. And we as Black folk, we've been on intimate terms with that spiritual decadence and moral decay for 400 years. So we got to be equipped. We got to be ready, as Curtis Mayfield would say. People, get ready. There's a love train and a justice train a coming. Don't need no ticket. But you get on board, you better have some courage and resilience. You better have your spirit intact and your integrity intact and some strong strategy too. But strategy ain't nothing if you ain't got your integrity and your spirit intact. Because if you don't have your integrity and spirit intact, my dear sister, you seeing it across the board. You keep track of it. Sell out, sell out, sell out. Every day, every week. Well-adjusted to injustice, well-adapted to indifference, can't wait to accommodate themselves to the empire.
Yeah. I mean, but Dr. West, and this is an interesting point as well. There's a new YouGov poll. Ryan Grimm reported about this that was just released that said that, some of the people that voted for Joe Biden in 2020 decided not to support Kamala Harris in 2024 because of Gaza. And we can't, ignore that 8 million people decided not to vote at all. Like that, no matter how much they try to minimize that, like that number, like that's still right. 8 million people that did not come back out. And so The Democratic Party, I guess, in my opinion, they tried to pretend like this wasn't going to be as important and to focus on other issues like Roe v. Wade. I
That's
guess
right.
they thought that that would get more like women to come out and support Kamala, not realizing that if they would have spoke to voters on the ground, they would have known that's not the number one issue, even for most women. And this is where I feel like they missed the mark. One of the things I remember, you were on Jordan Sheridan's show, and this is a while back. You said that Kamala's, I guess her team or whatever, they had reached out to you. And I believe they tried to offer you something or whatever. I think that was a big clear sign to me. I was like, oh my God, like they know they can't win. And
Mm.
I've said all this time, I think they were trying to convince people that she was further ahead than she actually was. But internally, they knew they couldn't win. And her staff said that later on after the fact and said they couldn't believe the polls that they were seeing on corporate media because all the polls that they saw internally never showed that Kamala Harris was ahead. So when they reached out to you, did you get that there was some type of that they were really concerned? Or
Oh yeah.
what was your feeling
That.
around that?
Very much so. I think they were deeply concerned. They wanted all folk on deck, and you're absolutely right. I mean, it wasn't just folk from the campaign, but I mean, I think I've mentioned is Martin Luther King Jr. the third and Susanna Heschel calling. They know I don't give a speech without mentioning Martin Luther King Jr. and the great Abraham Joshua Heschel. So to have the son and the daughter call me, I say, "Ooh, they doing their homework because they mean much to me. They fathers mean the world to me. You know what I mean?" And we had wonderful conversations. I love both of them. But they were also, saying I should seriously think about suspending and a campaign and endorsing and so forth. I said, well, no, I'm not that kind of brother. You're talking to the wrong brother in that sense. Then we reflected on what legacies their fathers would have, what their fathers would do, and so on. I said, well, I just disagree with y'all. I love you, but I think you're just wrong as two left shoes. I think I'm really building on the legacy of your daddies. And they are inside of me until the day I die. If y'all want to go with the war criminal, you go on with the war criminal and genocide. Go on with the corporate Democrat, and they know if they have a critique of genocide. Neither one of them are pro-genocide. I ain't that naive, you know what I mean? But they're making a strategic move again. You say, "Oh, we agree with you on genocide. We agree with your critique of corporate America. We agree with your critique of white supremacy, male supremacy, and so forth." I said, no, but strategically, I have a deep disagreement with you on this. But there was no doubt that within the campaign, they were full of anxieties. Oh, my God, definitely. Very much so. But they got $1 billion. Ain't that something? $1 billion in 107 days. And still lose because you can't. Well, but they're much more concerned about the Cheneys than they were, even the William Barbers. It's not even with me. And William Barber called me too. He called me too. William Barber's very honest. William Barber said, "Brother, I'm calling you to say that I never really called you because you know I love you so much, man, and I wouldn't be calling you on behalf of the campaign. I told them they shouldn't be having me call, so I'm calling you to let you know that I never really called." I said, "Okay, I appreciate that too, my brother. We got a love connection that's deeper than any election and so forth." They didn't even allow my dear William Barber, prophetic voice that he is, to be on the stage at the Democratic National Convention. So you don't have a Palestinian voice. You don't have William Barber. And William Barber's talking about the poor people's campaign. Well, that's Martin's legacy too. His legacy is not just the Vietnam War and the critique of American imperialism and breaking back of American apartheid and Jim Crow, but it's poor people's campaign. William Barber's been talking about that. They wouldn't even allow him on the stage. That just shows you how the corporate power has such a stranglehold on the Democratic Party. That's why the Democratic Party is beyond redemption. And all the talk about regenerating and revivifying, no, they don't have it. They don't have it. That's like thinking the Beach Boys is gonna sound like James Brown's band. They don't have it in I ain't got nothing against the Beach Boys. They can get around all they want, but give me some soul power.
Dr. West, do you think that from your perception, did you think that maybe Biden took too long to get out of this race? And then also, or do you think that, because I personally don't think that Kamala Harris would have won regardless. I don't think she was a strong candidate.
I agree with you.
I don't
I
think
agree with
Biden
you.
would have won.
I agree with your analysis. Very
Yeah.
much so. I mean, but at the level of lies that they had around Biden, even Kamala herself, right after the debate, he had a slow start, but he finished so fast. Quit lying, sister. The brother's got cognitive decline. He don't have both paddles in the water. Everybody knows that. Why they got to lie on it like that? So you get the cover up, but then they supposed to be standing for truth. Then you got the gangster over there lying, 25 times a day with Trump. So you just end up with these two parties full of mendacity and hypocrisy, and both of them tied to the barbarity in Congo and Haiti, as well as Gaza and other places. So we just got to keep telling the truth. And at this point, it's not even a matter of whether we think we're going to win around the corner. It's just a question of principle. And it's a question of making sure that the suffering of precious folk, the French phenomenon called wretched of the earth, is never, ever rendered invisible.
Well, Dr. West, I think that, I know you and there was a disagreement with, electorally, like which direction to go in. And I really haven't interviewed you like since like that moment. But, for me, and I just wanted to tell you like face to face, for me, I was looking at, not just the platforms, but also strategically. And I said to myself, what if we could get the Green Party to 5%, right? That didn't happen.
Right.
But I was like, what if we could do that?
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And there were some gains, like Jill Stein did win the Muslim vote. Like, so that, and that's another question that I wanted to ask. I have heard from multiple people within the Michigan area, et cetera, Muslim voters that told me they could never, ever support the Democratic Party again. So you have a new group of voters that are looking for a political home. And we've seen it happen too. Kamala Harris also lost the black vote. Corporate media talks about the support she got from black women because that number's high, but they don't mention the support she got from black men, because when you put those two numbers together, you'll see that the black vote for the Democratic Party has significantly declined since Barack Obama. It just keeps declining over and over, regardless who the presidential candidate is. So there are a lot of things that have happened within the Democratic Party. And then you have a group of voters who are looking for a new political home or may have just given up on this system altogether. But I was kind of surprised to hear when you came onto RBN and you said you wanted to be held accountable.
Yes.
I guess I was kind of surprised to hear that you felt the way that you did, like you felt the way that you did about us, because I never knew that. And I guess I would have thought this was a conversation that would have been had. And so for me, I was kind of honestly kind of taken aback, a little hurtful. Like,
now the they you're talking about is who? Is yourself and others, or what? You're talking about the Green Party, you're talking about you, because you and the Green Party for me are not identical. I mean, you could choose the Green Party, but you're not at the center of the Green Party. You got your own independent voice as well, though.
No, not the Green Party. I mean, I'm not even a part of the Green Party. And
right, that's what I was thinking.
Who don't know? Yeah,
so
I'm not a part of
any.
About
is who now?
No, for RBN, for Revolutionary Blackout Network. I think that it seemed like when there was criticism of your campaign, it was your response to it. I was not expecting that response. And so what I would ask is if you feel that there's a way that we have done things that you feel could have been done in a better way, I really want to know. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, I don't want to hear criticism. I don't want to hear critique. I'm not like that. I'm always trying to figure out how can I improve.
Right.
So for me, I would have preferred to hear that, like, face to face from you. So I was kind of surprised to hear that elsewhere. But if you feel that there are things that were done that was not good or not in a good way, I really, like, I'm just being honest, I really would like to know.
But when you say RBB, you're talking about yourself and who else?
Revolutionary Blackout Network. So me, Nick.
But no, yeah. you and Nick qualitatively different to me. I mean, with Nick and them, and God bless me, brothers trying to work it out with Nick and them, when they having all these pictures of clowns and cartoons with my face on it, then I'm a self-respecting black man. I ain't got time for that kind of mess. You seen what that was. You wouldn't even think about doing something like that. That's what they did. So at that point, I said, no, this is ridiculous. I don't put up with being disrespected by anybody in that sense. Now, you never disrespected me at all. That's why we on the show and we talk. And I resonate with your voice when you come down and telling the truth about American imperialism and capitalism and so forth and so on. But you don't stoop that low. You see, so people have to have some sense of respect for one another as black people, as human beings and so forth. And so that's, for me, you and Nick and them are qualitatively different in that regard. There's no doubt about that. I don't know if you and I had a chance to have a sustained reflection on my relation to the Green Party, because see, part of what it is for me is that, if I'm given a sense of not being respected by any party, the Green Party, a Democratic Party, and if somebody's going with that party, then we can talk about it. I can just say, as a person who's making a decision, I don't put up with being disrespected. That's just how I was raised. That doesn't mean you disrespected me at all. Now, Nick and them, that's a whole different thing. And I forgive them too, because they young brothers trying to do the best that they can, but I don't put up with that at all. That's what it is to be part of the Black freedom movement too. Black freedom is based on what? Black self-respect and Black self-determination and Black self-defense. That's true across the board. Now, you and I really haven't had a chance to talk that much about it because we got so much coming at us with Trump and Gaza and Congo. You know what I mean? And it's true. We got to keep our focus on the suffering of the people. We don't need to just talk about our individual tensions and what have you. But I do appreciate you calling for a candor and an honesty. And we just haven't had a chance to do that because it was so much going on during the campaign. And of course, the full story is yet to be told. I mean, I think the full story will be told in terms of my relation to the Green Party, but it's not worth going into right now. It really is. But I can say this: I just want you to be strong and stay strong in your truth telling, your justice seeking across the board, but based on a principle and an integrity. And that means it's going to be tension with whoever it is. But you just be true to yourself and keep track of that love and courage, your mama and daddy and grandmama and granddaddy. And I think you probably come out of the church too. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got that. You got that. I mean, we push aside the patriarchy and the homophobia and things, but that church got some deep stuff in it. You keep that inside of you and keep being the force for good, in the language of John Coltrane.
Yeah, and I just think that I really don't like. I really don't like all the bickering, especially among like Black people. Like there aren't that many Black people in the space, I'm sure, as you know.
That's true. That's true. You ain't lying.
So for me, I want everybody to just kind of get along, let bygones be bygones, and to try to move forward. And I think for me, that's my 2025 thing. That's what
right. No,
like
exactly. I mean, the other thing too, I think one of the catalysts of it was Brother Jimmy Dore disrespected me so, and it looked as if all of you all had a certain hesitancy to talk about a Black man being so disrespected by somebody else. And then I didn't even know, because I don't know your history that well, but that I was told, well, they've actually known Jimmy Dore for a while. And therefore, I said, oh, well, Lord have mercy. What was the nature of their relationship? Did they want to downplay that Jimmy Dore disrespecting me because they know Jimmy Dore and they don't want to say something that creates tension with him? I said, oh, well, wait a minute now. We got to have free Black folk. We can't be on. Nobody can be on nobody's plantation now. I don't give a goddamn what one's history is. You see what I mean?
No, but to be fair, I said something about that. I did say something about.
I may have missed it though.
Yeah, I said something about that. I said that I said that I thought that it was wrong for him to say what he said. And I said that, and it wasn't just your interview. I said that about the RFK interview too. I did say something about that. Maybe it wasn't as, I will say, like maybe when we did that segment as a group, maybe it wasn't as cutthroat as people may be like used to seeing. But I did say something about, I did speak up about that. And I think that, yeah, I mean, I think, things have happened since then. And I think that being within this particular space in independent media, I can tell you it is a very interesting experience. And
I understand. Because see, when I had, even the dialogue with Brother Tim Black, who we went back from the very beginning of the campaign, and I didn't know him then, but he's become my dear brother. He and Sister Sheila, and he was talking about all the different stages that people have been through and so forth, because it's a very difficult thing to be able to sustain it. And as much as we talk about independent media, you're still dependent on eyeballs. You're still dependent on getting certain kind of subscribers and so forth. So when I hear Jimmy Dore talking about, well, Trump's the only possibility and so forth, I say, the man's a fascist. Come on. What are we talking about? Well, Tucker Carl's doing and all this. Tucker's a fascist too. What are we talking about here? I mean, these shifts, these realignments taking place so fast. And I said to myself, well, no wonder he came at me tooth and nail in such a disrespectful way, because I'm going to be consistent. And if he can't talk about white supremacy, he can talk about identity politics all he wants. I can't stand identity politics, but I love black people. And if you think somehow I'm going to stop loving black people because you charge me with identity politics, you can kiss my black behind. I ain't got time for that. You know what I mean? Hey, I ain't got time for that. Yeah. No.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did like, and I talk about this pretty often on my show, is like, no, we cannot just say don't focus on race and just focus on class, because black people, the majority of black people are working class. Like, you can't separate the two. So we do have to, and I'm hoping that I have been teaching this to people, because I do feel like this mindset and some of that kind of came from the Bernie movement, just focus on the class issue, right, and da-da-da. So it's been hard trying to get people like out of that mindset that like, no, you have to also talk about these other issues as well. And to get that message across to people without them feeling like they're being blamed for something that they may not have done personally. So that is something that I've been constantly, I think, working on. And I also think that looking back on the election season, for me, it just felt like that was my first time doing the show during a presidential election. And for me, it just is very hostile. And a lot of people just like, get on board with this person. If you don't, then I'm going to shame you. Like, I've been smeared multiple times by people because I refused to support Kamala Harris. But at the same time, I wouldn't support Donald Trump. I was smeared for voting third party and supporting third party. Like, it's very hostile sometimes, like particularly during a presidential election season. And I think some of what has happened is some people are paid. There are some paid influencers, which I've covered before on the show. And then I think some are just looking for a hero, which I don't believe in. I don't believe a politician is really going to save you.
That's right.
So that's another thing that I try to give people other avenues. Like, look at what you can do on the local level. Like, we do mutual aid. You guys can like do that. We're going to start teaching mutual aid classes to people in February, because people need to, this is why when the election's over, I'm not stressed out like some other people are. I'm not bummed like some other people are, because I still have things to do. I still have organizing that I can work on locally. It may not be on the national level, but at least you can see things getting done like locally. And I think that that's incredibly important. And I do feel like, particularly within the independent media space, I do feel like there is a certain amount of gatekeeping, which I would have never expected until I got into this space. And there are a number of people that have been here for a long time where they just kind of feel like they're the gatekeeper and you can't do something before them, or you need to get their permission to do what you do on your show. And so for me, it kind of puts me on an island, not wanting to go along with those things. And I can say, like, in the past, I didn't always make the best decisions. But that is something that I learned. I just learned along the way. But it's kind of in a way put me like on an island, but I'd rather kind of be on that island with a couple of people that are willing to let me just, to your point, be myself.
Absolutely.
Than to be at a resort with a bunch of people who want me to be the way that they want me to be. So
That's very real. I think anytime you get down and out, you just think of Sister Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, or even Frederick Douglass. They were on islands all by themselves a whole lot of the time, but they never confused movement on the plantations, even when they were moving up the plantations, with being on the Underground Railroad. There's a qualitative difference. No matter how high you get up in the empire, no matter how you get up in the predatory capitalist hierarchy, you still on somebody's plantation. Harriet wasn't ever on anybody's plantation. And you just want folk to say, Sister Sabby, Brother Cornel, they just tried to be themselves, tell the truth, and didn't want to be on nobody's plantation. Now, you had to be strategic, so you got to keep a job, you got to be able to follow through on responsibilities and your loved ones and everything. Ain't no doubt about that. So whatever context you go on, you just tell folk, I'm not on your plantation. I'm here to talk to you. I'm having have a dialogue. But this is where I come from. Martin, Malcolm, Fannie Lou, Ella, Harriet. That's where I'm coming from. It's like our musicians, you see. Coltrane step on stage, you know he got Johnny Hodges all in him. He got Charlie Parker all shot through, and Ben Webster's all through. And they got him and them. You see what I mean? When Eddie Kendrick, Luther Vandross singing, you know he got Eddie Kendrick falsetto. You know he got, when he go all the way down, he got some Isaac Hayes and Barry White in it, because he's part of this rich tradition, this great tradition of a great Black people. 400 years of dealing with the country is dealing with a version of now, and we still standing tall with tremendous style and dignity at our best. Some of us lukewarm, some of us selling out and giving up and caving in, but some of us gonna be like Harriet. Some of us gonna be like Martin. Some of us gonna be like Patrice Lumumba. True to the end.
I hear you. And I have one more for you, Dr. West. I did see that I believe you and Nina Turner now have a show on, I think this is Tavis Smiley's radio station. I was on there one time before. I wanted you to talk a little bit about that, because is it just going to be on the radio, or is it also on YouTube as well?
Well, it's going to be on both, but I want to salute your Tabs. You know, he and I go back almost 35 years now. You know, of course, we had State of the Black Union on TV, and the Covenant with Black America, Covenant in Action, and so forth. And again, you know, he's deeply rooted in Black community, the #1 talk radio show in Black America, and more in America and the world. And it's a blessing to be with my dear sister, Nina Turner. We on every day, Monday through Friday for 1 hour, 12 o'clock, KPLA Talk 1580. And we have the time of our lives with truth time. Truth time is the right time. But if truth time means you better get ready to pay a cost and bear a burden. And so it's a beautiful thing to be on it. And it's on all of the various media, but it's on radio, and then it's all the various podcasts on media, including YouTube as well. And it's something that, you know, we've been doing now, as I said, for almost 30 years. We had a radio show about 15 years ago, Smiley and West, and Hope on a Tightrope. We also did, that was podcast during the pandemic. But yeah, Brother Smiley is still strong, and we saying exactly what I say on your show, on his show, on anybody else's show. It could be Joe Rogan. Joe want to have us on. You better get ready for some truth time and some truth telling. And you the same way. Anybody ask you to be on the show, you better get ready for Sabby. What she got to say, she's speaking from her heart and soul. That's who she is. That's what you're all, and all of us fall short. Don't get me wrong. We all fall short. But in the end, you always want to be able to try to be true to your best of what has been put into you, and the best of your tradition, and the best of what mom and dad and your church, no matter how many shortcomings it has, it got some good stuff in there, especially with that music, because it's real. You want to keep it real, keep it raw.
Dr. West, I want Nina Turner to leave the Democratic Party, because I do think that Nina Turner has a powerful voice, but I feel like that only crutches still with the Democratic Party. Do you foresee that happening someday?
I think all things are possible. I love my dear dear sister, my beloved wife is her dear sister Anahita, and Nina is just a powerful force for good. And she and I have had strategic differences too. Of course, you know that. We were together with Bernie, and she said, "Well, brother West, I love you, but I can't go to the campaign." Hey, I understand that. We brothers and sisters until death. So you're right. I think that there's a real possibility that could happen. There's no doubt about it. But it's got to be her, and she has to make that decision. And in the end, she might ask for consultation, but she don't have to ask for nobody's permission. Just like you don't have to ask for nobody's permission as to who you love, who you laugh with, what you say, and how you roll. But as you mentioned before, we all got to be accountable. But we got to be accountable to folk who are respectful. You see, and that's why you and I could talk until the cows come home, because we got things bigger than whatever disagreements we had. That's why me and Sister Nina, brothers and sisters until death, because we got a deep respect that's there. That's very important, especially in a moment in which, everybody's into pimping, everybody's into getting over. Everybody's concerned with the 11th commandment, thou shalt not get caught. And that's what it is to live in a gangsterized society run by gangsters with the predatory capitalist processes pushing the wealth up, and with white supremacy and male supremacy pushing back certain groups. But to keep in mind that there is no white supremacy in the United States and around the world without capitalism and imperialism, but they're all not the same thing. They're not the same thing. So when people just talk about class and act like you can't hardly say I'm the word, as you know, I'm on the board now with Black Lives Matter grassroots with Sister Melina. I was blessed to run with Sister Melina as my vice president. And I'm on that board now. Why? Because I'm concerned about the Black brothers and sisters and siblings still getting murdered down by these police and getting brutalized by the police. And just because it's not on television don't mean it's not taking place.
Right.
You can't love Black people or anybody else and not be concerned about what these police still doing. And as you know, the grassroots BLM is qualitatively different than the BLM Incorporated, where they're involved in all kind of mess we won't get into. But Sister Melina and them are doing some wonderful work, and I was honored to be asked to be on their board. And people say, "Oh, now we got a big job." No, it's unpaid. Please. But we think of all the different things we do that we do without getting money. Now, all of us need money. Don't get me wrong. We got to have some money in order to take care of your loved ones and yourself. But it's just a matter of trying to empty yourself. That's what our musicians do. That's Curtis. That's Aretha. That's Luther. That's Phyllis. That's Gladys. We don't need to give their last names. You know what I mean? We know them on personal basis because they mean so much to us in terms of what they put inside of us, what they sound and so on. And they just true to themselves. That's what we got to do. And what you say, I'm so glad you're here. Ooh, ooh. Oh, yeah. That sounds like James Brown's first word when he stepped out on the stage. I'm so glad you're here. I'm an extension of you. You're an extension of me. I came to rock and roll. And if at the end of this concert, y'all came to hear a song and we didn't play it after 3 hours, we're going to play it right on the spot. You didn't play Soul Power. Hit it, Bootsy. Hit it, Jabbo. Hit it, Stubblefield. We came to serve the people. Ooh, that's Huey Newton at his best. That's Angela Davis at her best. That's Erica Higgins at her best. How you love and serve the people. That's what our musicians have always understood. Some of our preachers too. You know about the credo now. You seen the credo that came out that the Black Church put out with James Evan and Jeremiah Wright and a number of us. It was a beautiful thing. Legatees of the Black Church. And it's getting smaller and smaller because the prophetic Black church is getting weaker and weaker with all of these prosperity gospel preachers, So many of them selling out, transforming that rich blood at the cross into Kool-Aid, just sell it rather than something that you get into to change your life, to make you a freedom fighter. But that credo is a beautiful thing. And I salute my dear brother Joseph Evans and Jeremiah Wright and the others who helped put that together. I was blessed to just put my name on it. But I know I'm running late. But I salute you, and I salute your loved ones, your family, and your parents and everybody, and you just keep telling the truth and bearing witness, and keep that Coltrane love supreme shot through you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. West.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.